So tonight our party topic is this pod is canceled. No, it is about canceled games that we it's basically just a discussion on canceled games. But generally, my idea was games that I would have really loved to have seen. But there are a whole lot of examples, and I have a couple here. First, because it recently popped into the news, so I'll go over those real quick, and then we'll go over some other examples. The first example that I had, because IGN, I believe IGN and Kotaku both reported on them this week, was that there was a AAA Power Rangers game that was they quote it as Arkham Rangers, so very much an open world uh, Arkham City styled Power Rangers game that was apparently in production pretty much right before the movie came out, I believe, because Saban, the production company behind it and behind everything Power Rangers, uh, they were having a whole lot of trouble getting everything off the ground. And I think when the movie itself came out, they realized that they couldn't really move forward with the game as it was. But I can drop the link, or Thomas can drop the link in chat if you'd like. This particular game was called Project Nomad for some reason, but there is some really great concept art that came out that just looks fantastic. If you're at all familiar with the Power Rangers universe, or even just the last movie that came out, it's very cool art that they released here, and it's something that I really would have enjoyed playing. If Steve's around, he would have definitely chatted a little bit about that, because it just looks really sweet. There's so many things that you can do with Power Rangers, and to have an open world game instead of the simple fighting game that they have now, which I guess it has a little bit better than average reviews, Battle for the Grid, but to have a little bit more in the universe of Power Rangers would be nice. And this one looked like it was set up, ready to go. But unfortunately, this new generation of Power Rangers was not meant to be. So it
And
seems
the studio exploded.
Yeah,
pretty much. It pretty much did. It kind of imploded, and they're rethinking a whole lot of things still. And it's funny that a franchise that was as powerful as it was in the '90s is now relegated to telling stories through comic books, which is not a bad thing, because I've read some of the new comics and the old comics, and they've always been fantastic. But missing out on something as big as an open world Power Rangers game is super sad to me. I am umming way too much for myself tonight, so I'm gonna figure out where to go from here. But
It's you covering up your sadness about Power Rangers.
Yeah, it's clearly grief that is bringing out the the next game that I have on my list is Duke Nukem Prequel that Gearbox was working on. We don't need a prequel, and it's not actually a game that I want to see. But for anybody, if Thomas does drop this link, this one's actually really funny, and you should definitely watch it. This was what's called a vertical slice, so it's a proof of concept that's created not at all with game footage, not actually developed stuff, but it was a proof of concept, so to speak, in 2008. So this thing is hella old, but the person that actually put up the clip, his name is Gregor Punchatz.
What?
He worked for.
No, sorry. Go on. Just go on.
No, that's his name.
Man.
So he worked at Janimation in Dallas, Texas. That was hired by Gearbox to make this video. And I don't want to sully him or his name or his project or anything, but in this YouTube video, there's a really good description, and he talks about how devastating it was that it didn't actually get made, because he did this concept, and suffice to say, it wasn't his fault that it didn't get made. Because Duke Nukem Forever, which took forever to release, I believe that was 20 years to release, if I remember right.
What?
When it did, it was horrible. It was.
Are you serious?
It was it was such a long process.
Wow.
Actually, I need to get the exact dates on here real quick because I
And yet it
went
was
on.
still the way it was.
Yeah, I went on a wiki rant. Not like I wasn't writing on wiki, but I was just going through wiki a few weeks ago about Duke Nukem, and I fell into this dark pit, so to speak, of Duke Nukem lore, and it's just insane. So yeah, Gearbox bought the rights to Duke Nukem Forever in 2010, released it in 2011, but it had been uh, in production or in development since Duke Nukem 3D released. And I think the first release of 3D was 94, 95. And it's just insane how that goes. But this game, Duke Nukem Begins, was a prequel. This video is amazing in a bad way. You should definitely watch it. Just the fact that Duke Nukem needs any more stories is funny because it's one of those nostalgic things for me. It was a great 2D side scroller when it first came out, and then it evolved to Duke Nukem 3D, which was still fun. But it's like the example of trash machismo characterization that should have stayed dead in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like Pat on the Back said, it took so long to come out that it didn't age well on release. Yeah. Because, like, times change. And when you take that long to come out with the game, I mean, I've got to wonder what the behind the scenes on something like that really looks like, because the character's been around, so even today, if you're trying to make that character, even if you have to tailor it, it's still character that hasn't had any change at all in 20 years. That's so long. But I wonder at what point the writing for this game took place, because, like, I don't know. That just seems wild to me. What if it was written 10 years ago and the writing never once changed during that second half of development?
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, that's like an existential crisis. I don't like that.
Yeah, if you ever really get into a place where you're not feeling great, just wiki Duke Nukem Forever, read the plot first, and then go back to see the actual story behind it, because it's really funny, and it's actually one of the most documented cancellations there is. Cancellation slash, we mentioned it before the pod, but Duke Nukem Forever did release, but it should have been canceled.
Yeah.
It technically was canceled, I think, a couple times before Gearbox actually grabbed it back from id or 3D Realms. It's just really crazy, because I feel like personally that Duke Nukem 3D was a really great adjustment from their 2D version that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And they were changing things. They were in the same realm as I think they were partially owned by id, who was making Doom at the same time. They were riding on the coattails of Doom and succeeding at doing that, and then they should have just disappeared. But they had to stick with Duke, and it was just not the right move.
Thomas, are you watching the video?
No, I'm not going to tell you what I read, but
Be.
I read the name of a game that was right to be canceled. I'm not even going to tell you what it is because I don't want to talk about it. But some games deserve to be canceled, and this one did.
Fair enough.
I've got a wiki pulled up of some canceled games, and I am actually seeing more stuff in here where I'm just like, oh right, I forgot that like this was canceled, but then it turned into this other thing. For example, there's the game. I've never played a Silent Hill game. I've seen some, but I've never firsthand played it, just like I've never firsthand played a Resident Evil game, except for like some of 4. I've watched all of 4 though and loved it. I know. I had waited to play Resident Evil 7 because I was going to play it on VR, but I didn't do it in time, and now I had to get rid of my VR set because there's not enough space. So it's a real shame. But this game that got canceled is Silent Hills. And I guess I didn't realize this was going to exist. It says Silent Hills is a canceled survival horror video game developed by Kojima Productions on the PS4 from 2012 to 2015. It was to be directed by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. So I didn't know about that, but of course now I know about PT, which was those two, which was also canceled. It seems like they really, really wanted to make a game together. So with Death Stranding in development for like 7 years or something, they finally got to do it. But oh my goodness, I never knew about that whole like pedigree.
Yeah,
I guess
so,
Death Stranding would be the closest thing. I mean, it's not a Silent Hills game, but I wonder if that was the first project where they actually were able to direct together.
Yeah,
Silent
because
Hills.
Death Stranding is like, I think it's like the result of all the cancellations, kind of like how Titan was going to be what became Overwatch.
Mhm.
You know, like all the pieces were there, and
Right.
then now it's just like something completely different, but it still has like the phantom of the vision that they had.
Exactly. Yeah, because Redis was involved in all of it too. And there's still rumors on that one being around. But another thing that happened this week that actually goes along with this whole topic as well is that if anybody hasn't seen Blue Box Studios trending on Twitter, this is because of the game Abandoned that Blue Box Studios is working on, that this particular dark side of the gaming internet is believing that Kojima has a secret project that is the game Abandoned through this Blue Box Studios. And they decided to delete all their tweets, and they've started deleting a lot of content that they had online about this game Abandoned.
What?
And it's kind of proving some of the conspiracy theorists right.
Really?
It's really funny. So I recommend Googling Blue Box Studios Abandoned, because it's just really funny. It's like this meta gaming news rumors thing that's just working out in some really weird ways, but it's a very Kojima thing, and it's hilarious.
It
Sounds
really
like it.
is.
Yeah. Wow, that's wild. I've got a couple other things I saw on this list. I'm sure I could keep digging and find no shortage of stuff. But this was canceled and now is uncanceled, I believe. The Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game that I think we saw at E3 this year after a hiatus of like 10 years.
I mean, we still haven't received the sequel yet. That was supposed to. I mean, it's 2021, and he's got 4 other movies planned or something. So, like,
Right. Man, that guy shoots for the stars, that's for sure.
I mean, we're gonna be on Pandora by the time the final movie comes out.
For real. I think 2023 is the official movie date, but
Who knows? So there's that. I found Firefly Online, which
oh my
the game
God,
didn't
yes.
get or the show didn't get a second season, but apparently it was almost gonna have an RPG, and it's online. So I mean, an MMO.
That sounds like so much fun.
This I mean, it's a short wiki. I could read this, but one way or another, it didn't work out. That's funny. You sure don't hear people complain about that. They're just like, man, sure wish
Where's
there
the
was
Dark Angel action RPG that we're supposed to have?
And then I saw another one on here. Where was it? Oh, yes, the one we were all waiting for. It's a shame this one didn't come out. Cabela's Big Hunter Pro Hunts. I know we were all waiting on that one. That was going to come out in 2014. I know we're all big game hunters.
Were you gonna go hunt like an orca whale with a rifle or some shit?
Hell yeah.
Is that how that was gonna go?
You can hunt caribou, pronghorn, a grizzly bear. That's pretty metal.
Hey, I'll hunt the bear. Hey.
Yeah. Actually, I've never actually played those games. It's just fun to knock on them because, like, the same reason it's fun to knock on like Farming Simulator or Truck Simulator. Even though I definitely want to buy Truck Simulator.
Oh yeah. Yeah, speaking of the campiness of those games, which I will always play them at an arcade if they're around, I did see that there was a story that Marlin, one of the companies that a gun company, they actually have the rifle that was in Jurassic World that Chris Pratt had on the website. It officially says T-Rex.
Yeah,
that was one of the victims that you can hunt.
That's
gun,
funny.
that you can use this gun to hunt with, and it's hilarious because it's a 45-70, like it's a high caliber rifle.
That sure
But
is
it's
a
like-
stat about guns.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about guns.
Yeah, same. There is Fable
You
Legends.
gotta have something better than that. Okay.
Fable
there
Legends
we go.
was on here. That was like the official beginning of the end of the Fable series. Because I think that was the one that was on Rails, right? It was
The Kinect one.
Yeah. Oh, if it wasn't Kinect, then it was the Wii. But it had some sort of like movement feature
Yeah, it
where
was
like
the Kinect.
you're on Rails, right? You like go wherever the game directs you, like a House of the Dead game. And then,
Yeah.
and then you do stuff. I don't know, cast spells, I assume, and swing your sword and stuff. But when I heard about that, I had missed it because it was announced at E3, whatever year that was, probably like 2011 or so. You know what? The information is right in front of me. I don't have to guess.
I was gonna say time's an illusion anyway. It's a construct.
Yeah. This says 2016, which is way later than I thought it was. Dramatically later than I thought it was. But yeah. Somebody told me, they're like, oh yeah, there was a trailer for Fable Legends at E3. Here's what it was. And I was just like, oh, that means nothing to me. Like, I'm not interested at all. And you don't seem enthused. So, yeah. R.I.P. F's in chat for the Fable series.
I'm sure they'll come up in like one of those like All-Stars games that puts everybody against each other, like PlayStation All-Stars. You know, he'll come back. He'll come back. We'll see Fable Guy again.
Well, either Pat or Mortis had suggested in chat that Duke Nukem shouldn't have his own games anymore. He should just show up as cameos. And yeah, I'd play the game that has Duke Nukem and also Fable, the game, the character, or whoever.
The person.
Yes. Fable, the man,
real
woman,
gamers right here.
Yeah. The legend
We all
themselves.
calling him Fable Guy.
Fable Guy.
fucking great.
Maybe we'll finally.
I don't
Have a
remember.
name? Like,
I don't remember a name at all
I think you're like
because
the
it's
hero.
supposed to be you.
Yeah, your name is
Yeah.
the hero. So yeah, so I could see the hero in that, and if it got Duke Nukem, if it has Duke Nukem, then that's definitely the game that Doom Guy cameos in, right? Because it's right there. Next, if they just have to have Bulletstorm dude, Bulletstorm
Yes,
boy,
Serious Sam, Bulletstorm dude, whoever the fuck that
Crackdown
is.
Man.
Bulletstorm Bob.
Yeah.
That's his name, as of right now.
In that cameo game, it's gonna be Doom Guy. He takes off his helmet. And it's actually Duke Nukem the whole time.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be.
That
like
would actually be totally fine with the lore. Like, I'd be down with that.
This is not a game that was in development to be canceled, but in one of the Tom Clancy games, I think it was it was Wildlands, I think. Somebody in chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but they released the Predator DLC for that game, where they were like, the Predator is now on the island with you, and it's a thing that you either try to hunt or you somehow interact with it. But when I was listening to a podcast back when it released, they were upset, not because of the content of the DLC, but they were like, that is super dope, and they should have ghost released it. Like, they should have just put the Predators in the game and not told anybody, and then it would have exploded, because people would have been like, holy shit, there's a Predator in this game! Like, it showed up out of nowhere. And if they had stuff like that, where, I mean, that's a great cameo, perfect in the world of the game. I don't care about that game at all, and I would play an entire game of that. Because it's basically, the movie Predator. It's like, let's have these super trained soldiers versus, the goddamn Predator. Like, I would play that whole entire game, but I thought that would have been a cool marketing thing to completely, like, if they made an entire game about that, that's the thing I want to have maybe gotten canceled so that we could see the full thing someday. Who knows?
I mean, we still might get it. Coming to Game Pass it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Predator was added to some game recently. I don't remember if that was
what was
Dead
it,
by
Mortal
Daylight.
Kombat? I feel it's a fighting game.
I think it would have been Mortal
It might
Kombat.
have been that, yeah.
I think it was Mortal Kombat because they got like a bunch of people. They got Rambo, Terminator, all them people.
Yeah.
I think they got the Xenomorph in there. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, because they're all the same. They were all Fox.
I thought
yeah.
Xenomorph was in Killer Instinct.
You know,
the Sangheliar. The Sangheliar.
Yeah,
yeah.
The Arbiter, except his people. Oh my gosh, I think I mentioned this recently on one of our shows, but I watched it again. The speed run, watching devs watch the devs watch a speed run of their game, and for Halo 1, I went back and I rewatched it, and some of that stuff is just so bonkers, like the way that the architecture is broken and stuff. And the devs were joking about how at first they were like, oh yeah, I remember doing all this work on scripting, and it was really hard, but we had to make sure it worked so nobody could break it. And then fast forward like 20 minutes into the video, every script is broken, like nothing makes any sense, like all the enemies are T-posed just standing around the map, and the dev is like, shouldn't have said that. Like, maybe I shouldn't have been bragging about my scripting. But that just cracks me up because it looked like an unfinished version of the game because, it wasn't working properly. But the whole time I was watching it, I was like, this must have been what it looked like when it was in development. It's the same game, that I played, but it's just broken in this really interesting way. But to me, it felt like I was looking at some never meant to be seen version of the game, like some alpha or something. And it's interesting to see the people who made that.
Well, at least they got
talk about it.
At least it got like actually finished, unlike these other games, RIP.
Yeah.
Like the one that I want to talk about, which I'm sure everyone is devastated by this one, is Scalebound. Come back to me, please.
Oh,
Scalebound,
man.
come to us now.
That had a couple.
I'm so sad.
That had a couple of E3 trailers, didn't it?
It
had a lot. It had like 30-minute gameplay
demos,
videos
and everything.
everything.
I mean, Monster Hunter could never. I'm sorry, Monster Hunter. I love you, but those battles were so large scale and larger than life that, and they were gorgeous too, because Platinum Games, they don't really make ugly games.
Yeah.
We got Bayonetta, we got Devil May Cry, and we got Beautiful Joe. Not Beautiful Joe, Beautiful 101, but also Beautiful Joe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So beautiful game with large scale, huge ass boss battles. The AI dragons and everything, the way that you could just launch yourself and control yourself onto them. Like the one I'm talking about, the trailer I'm talking about in particular, is when you're fighting this giant Goma, like scorpion thing. And I say Goma because it's got like the giant purple eye. And the way that you can summon your AI dragon partner, and then your dragon partner could just like literally tail whip you onto the thing so that you can start going ham or whatever. I was just like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And back then it was something that we really hadn't seen before, at least on that scale. So,
some of the things that they showed off, they were actually building-sized creatures, like even more so than the Colossus games. And by the way, Debbie, you were technically right. Hideki Kamiya was the director of Beautiful Joe, but they technically were Clover Studio back then when they did Beautiful Joe. But
I see.
Kamiya is still there, so yeah, it is a Platinum game. I mean,
It was in my brain.
Come on.
Platinum's one of my favorite studios. I got to know the lore. Like,
it was basically them. But yeah, that is a game that like it doesn't make sense. Like it does make sense when you know more of the story behind the whole publishing snafu and just how Platinum is actually over the years has had a lot of publishing issues, but just the fact that it had Microsoft money behind it and it still didn't get made completely is the saddest part about it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they ended up, scrapping it and then doing the remaster of Wonderful 101, and you're just like,
why?
Back to the good shit. Like, I know we had Nier Automata in there, but let's just go back and finish Scalebound real quick.
Well, what I read is that since Microsoft owns the actual rights to Scalebound, if they did want to finish production of the game somehow, all they would really have to do is change the name, and we could still get the same game because they own the rights to Scalebound, quote unquote. So I don't know. Here's hoping.
Yeah,
I hope. I mean, at least give us Bayonetta 3, finally, please, eventually, now.
Now.
Preferably now.
Look, my expectations went from here to here. Like, just do it.
Just give me something. But if you're gonna give us something that we've been waiting for, Scalebound.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're gonna have what's it called? I just lost it. Is it Phoenix Fall or?
That sounds like a video game.
Babylon's Fall. There we go. We got Babylon's Fall that's coming before any other Platinum property. now. So yeah,
I don't know anything about that. I'll have to look into it.
that's the one that was or still is PS5 timed exclusive, I believe. It's very much near. Um,
Are we sure it's PS5 exclusive, or is it PS5/PS4 exclusive?
it's PS5/PC
Oh, okay.
exclusive.
Oh.
Neat.
Um,
Because, you know, they don't really have solely PS5 exclusive games right now. They're just like, I guess we'll keep PS4 on the market a little while longer. It's fine.
yeah, I think that Platinum's been having a lot of issues lately. So I think they said that they were sticking on PS5 in that last play that they showed Babylon's Fall in. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Platinum is one of the greatest developers out there right now, and they're actually one of the worst at getting games out.
It's
So
awful. I hate
we
it
might
because I
talk
love
about
all of their
more-
games.
Yeah,
All of them.
they're all fantastic.
They're
um,
platinum.
And I mean, I don't understand. They are one of those developers that you see and you know that everybody talks about every one of their games, and then they sell very well as well, very much like Capcom. And then they're like, oh, but we can't do things like you want us to. And it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
but why?
But why?
But why?
Because I know they're not Capcom anymore, but they might as well be. They have an extremely talented team, and they have a large team, if I remember correctly. They have multiple development studios, like locations. So
Yeah.
can you just give us a little bit of something more?
They
Platinum?
don't.
Thanks.
They don't have lack of
I
resources.
mean, I'm giving them a little bit of leeway, like now, because, you know, the world. But
Yeah,
Gestures broadly.
back then there wasn't any excuse. So
Right.
I don't know that Bayonetta 3 should take 6-7 years. That's probably not.
I mean, have you
thing.
seen Bayonetta? Do you know how long it takes her to get ready? How long it takes her to do her hair, which is her entire suit? Like,
Yeah. They modeled the development after the character. It's only right.
I did want to bring up, unless somebody else had something real quick.
Well, there's some
Beyond Good and Evil.
There's some dumb fun stuff because, like, I clicked on this wiki of canceled GameCube games, and I'm like, all of these games came out. It turns out they were only canceled as ports to the GameCube. It's an entire list of canceled ports because,
what?
yeah. So it's just a funny thing. The GameCube, you know, a Nintendo system suffered from port challenges just like they always have. Because apparently there was an actual Futurama video game. It just was, like, it was released. It just didn't get released for GameCube.
Yeah, it was on PS2, I believe.
There's The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge, hotly talked about.
Also on PS2, I think.
Yep.
I remember seeing that, like, just that label in a Blockbuster, or something. I don't know where, but I remember seeing the box art somewhere. So it's weird that I know that.
Yeah, you nailed it. I probably would have said PS1, I think. That would have been my guess. But you're right, PS2 and Xbox. This says the game is a sequel to the film. So it's not just like adjacent, it is a sequel.
It's canon.
That's interesting. But the only other one, I'm sure I could find more stuff, but I actually do know this one. So Star Wars 1313, which basically became the Respawn one. Fallen Order? Yes, Fallen Order.
Yeah.
It's not a one-to-one. They didn't just take all their assets and turn them into a new game, but a lot of the goodwill and business decisions for 1313 seem to have been shifted as, like, the LucasArts brand underwent the buyouts through Disney and a bunch of other stuff. So it was a bummer that we didn't get the Star Wars 1313 game, because it was essentially supposed to be about, I think, a bounty hunter. That's the part I think I'm right on. The part I know I'm right on is 1313 stood for the level that of building, like the 13th floor on Coruscant, on wherever you are. So the idea is, you know, it takes place on Coruscant. I don't think you were a Jedi. Maybe you were, but it was like a cover shooter, like Uncharted. Anyway, I remember being interested in that. And Fallen Order, everybody. Definitely wasn't a shooter, but there were a lot of things to enjoy with it. I actually watched Lord Chrome beat that game start to finish on Twitch.
It's an interesting ride. It really is.
yeah, it's really interesting. He even made a couple jokes that it was like Sonic Adventures, where you're like going through bouncy spots on these crazy rides, and you're like Uncharted, slide your way down some cliff, and I never would have drawn
He
that
would make that
conclusion.
parallel. I love that.
Right? Mr. Sonic himself.
It's
But
such a shame though, because like I have promotional material for Star Wars 1313. Like I have like a set of postcards or something that they released. I don't know if it was like a pre-order bonus or something, but like it was just like
man,
it had location art on it and had like the emblem 1313 down there or whatever. I'll have to see if I can find those. I wonder if they're worth something.
I mean, maybe. What a heartbreaker, though, right? Like, here, get your hopes up, and sorry, yoink, canceled. Just like this podcast.
Cancel culture is just getting ridiculous now.
God, that's the problem
Yeah.
with video games.
Speaking of, well, I just lost the word, but devastation or depression over some of these titles. The big one that we haven't talked about yet for me, Beyond Good and Evil 2. I immediately on my search for Beyond Good and Evil 2 canceled news because there have been so many articles written about it. It's from 2014. Okay, Beyond Good and Evil 1 released in 2003. It was announced that the sequel was coming in 2008. This article from GameSpot is from 2014, and it's hilarious. The headline says, Beyond Good and Evil 2 has not been canceled, but we won't see it soon. It's still far too early to give many details about this new title, Ubisoft says. And then the article date, August 1st, 2014.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
We're heading on
Is
2
Beyond Good and
decades.
Evil the one with Elliot Page, or is that Beyond Two Souls?
No, that's Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah, Beyond
Two
Two
Souls,
Souls.
okay.
Beyond Good and
Okay.
Evil was the Zelda-like that was widely regarded on GameCube. It did come to PS2 and eventually Xbox. But
Hey, Nintendo,
really
Nintendo
great
can do
addition.
ports. They just have to, be the first one to have it.
Right. That was exactly how it was in the GameCube era, I feel like. And then there were a lot of Japanese things we didn't get. But suffice to say, Beyond Good and Evil 2, we've seen so many CG cutscenes of it.
Yeah.
A couple of gameplay demos
Oh,
running on PS5 hardware, I believe, and Xbox One X hardware, I believe. Not the series, but
I remember another game that I would like. To me, they're practically made by the same studio, even though I don't know either studio. Is Prey? There was Prey 1, which I never played, and then there was a sick trailer on YouTube, like a cinematic trailer for Prey 2. But that was from like over a decade ago. I remember watching it in college.
yes.
But then that Prey 2 didn't end up happening. It went down under again and eventually became a similar but different game that was released. And I felt like Beyond Good and Evil is another series that I was just like, I don't know enough about this, but it keeps coming back, and I don't know if it's even real. Like, it sounds like a made-up video game, that it's like when people like talk about fables or something. You're just like, you're talking about it like you're talking about the Jabberwocky or like the Wendigo, like it's a real thing. Is it a real thing? Like, can somebody tell me? Is this a real? Should I be concerned?
One of those might be a real thing.
Yeah. So with the Prey series and with Beyond Good and Evil, both of them, I'm just like, did they make the first game just so they could make a second, like a trailer for a second game? Like, is that their whole the long con? Because I'm confused and I don't know what's going on. It's space gritty, a fantasy. I don't know. What a strange thing. So that officially got canceled, right? Beyond Good and Evil 2? Or we're still in the waiting period?
We are in like the third stage of potential cancellation. Like they have mentioned again that it's still going under changes. I think somebody at the top of the studio left. So I think Michelle Ansel is no longer working on it. Maybe.
So soon, TM.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like the eighth power.
The guy that promises games and then they come decades later, that's him now officially. This is such a devastating thing, because anybody that's played the first game knows that it was fantastic, but in all honesty, it felt like it was a game that should have stayed one game. It should not have been a franchise, and this completely new thing that we have is Beyond Good and Evil 2. It might as well just be renamed or canceled, and that's it. Because in all honesty, nobody anymore wants to see it in its current state, I don't think. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna personally say an RIP, just in case. It's like, just please leave us be.
Just let it go.
Just anybody there, just go to work for Xbox and get Scalebound made.
Man. Yeah,
Just
right.
Get some hands on that.
Dude,
whatever is left of that.
I wish there was like basically a mercenary game dev group, right? Like straight
Yeah.
up, they just they would make a game, kick ass on every part of it, like the development, the production, the marketing, all that stuff, and then they just pack up their things and be like, we're off into the sunset, like who knows what we'll do next. Because like with I was about to say the good, the bad, and the ugly. With Beyond Good and Evil 2, it seems like the struggle there isn't. It's just it didn't get enough momentum up front to finish whatever project the developers would have called it, right? It got drawn out too long, so the wind is out of your sails. Like, you need momentum, and it lost all momentum. I wonder if today the developer is like, hey, it's been 20 years, we haven't made a game, we're going to make a sequel. Like, I feel like it'd be so much more manageable, but the fact that they tried and failed to do it already means, like you said, just let it go. Like, quit dragging it along, just cut it off. Like, just, you're hurting everybody by keeping our hopes up. Well, yeah, this is a fun rabbit hole if anybody wants to go down the wiki of canceled games. There's all sorts of good stuff in here, to be honest. But we could revisit this someday if we wanted.
Oh yeah, this could be a 20-hour podcast if we really went down with it.
There's a lot going on.
But yeah, we didn't even hit the Nintendo side of things. Like, Sakurai has a few canceled projects that I would love to talk about at some point.
Yeah. Debbie, do you want to tell everyone where they can find all our stuff?
Yeah. So you can go to partyinvite.games. It's our hub site where you can find all of our links to the platforms that we are on, such as YouTube and Twitter, and here on Twitch where you're watching us live, or if you're not, you can watch the VOD later. Also on Anchor and all of their stuff on Spotify. So, I mean, yeah, we're like everywhere, and that's the best way to find out, where we are and what we're doing. So go check it out, and go also check out the written content there. I know Carlos has been doing a lot of stuff there as well, and we have some reviews on there that I think you might find interesting. So go do the thing.
Heck yeah.
That's right. We are always looking for more subscribers, more followers, and if there's a topic that you'd like to see, definitely let us know. We've got, obviously, for anybody that's been with us for a while, we've got a Discord and a Facebook community that is popping. Just let us know if there's something that you'd like to talk about, or even if you'd like to be a guest. We are looking for guests from time to time, so we're definitely down to get somebody that would like to talk about a specific topic.
Yes,
Cool.
please. We need the guests. We'll swipe right. We like long walks on the beach and no pina coladas in the rain.
Mm-hmm.